Good morning, cultists. Welcome to Dessert Time with CthuLoops. First off, I'd like to apologize for the delay in the release of this post-mortem. I usually release my post-mortems on the same day as the finale episodes, but due to some time constraints, I was not able to do that. Sorry. Of course, if you're watching this in the future, when aliens and/or robots have taken over the Earth, then I guess it doesn't really matter. In that case, don't worry about what I just said and just live your life, serving our alien and/or robot overlords. If you're new to our post-mortems, welcome! This is where I talk about the overview of our campaign, take a trip down memory lane by talking about our rulers, and see what the rest of the world is up to. I normally wouldn't review the game or anything like that, but seeing as how this is our first campaign in CK3, I'm also going to talk about what I like in CK3, what I don't like, and what I think can be done to change that. And of course, this is not scripted, so yeah, it's going to be rambling nonsense from start to finish. Maybe I should write some stuff down, but nah, it's fine. Or maybe it's not, I don't know. Well, in any case, let's start things off by looking at our rulers, because we only have 3. Yeah, we started with King Pelry, then moved on to Abumiri Pluten, and then we finished off with Abumiri Congratules. Alright, so let's start with King Pelry, our very first starting character, who had rather abysmal stats. Yeah, his learning was not so great. I think he was barely intelligible. Was it really that bad? I guess so, eh? Wow. His stewardship was second to none though, at least his base stat. And we actually did fairly decently with our marshal despite having a terrible education. Wow. I forgot how terrible he was at this. But yeah, marshal 16, not too bad. Diplomacy 6, terrible, obviously. Intrigue 7, not great, but his learning was, rough. Pretty rough. Despite that though, he was still able to accomplish a fair bit. I believe we started out as a duke and then eventually became a king. So I think with King Pelry, he had, right, the Kingdom of Le Mans and not much else. So what else was he able to accomplish? He was the cultural head. He was dreaded, just like everyone. Exalted among men. So I think that's the, yeah, second to last level of fame. So it seems like the levels of fame and levels of devotion aren't too difficult to go up in. Although I guess it gets a little bit easier once your realm gets a little bit bigger. So yeah. And I believe I think we were trying to do the Reformation with Pelry. Was that right? Is that why we went with the learning lifestyle stuff? Maybe? And he's fought in 27 wars. 19 offensive wars and 8 defensive wars. Right, and he lived, to be 75. 39 years of rule, so not really long. I guess we started the campaign when he was, 36? Is that right? Huh. I usually like to start my character's rule like at around 18 or 20, if I can control that in some way. I mean, it's usually hard to, but yeah. I just like having rulers around for a little bit longer than constantly switching back and forth and all that jazz. So, what else did Pelry accomplish? I kind of wish I had a rewind function, but oh well. So, I think with Pelry, we did a lot of raiding, which is why we got Reaver and Raider. I think Wise Man, did we just get that with the theology focus? I think so, right? Yeah, Temperate, Brave, and Lustful. I gotta say, I do like Temperate as a trait in CK3. Like, yeah, I think it's fairly useful. I mean, it's not maybe as useful as some other traits, but definitely one of the better ones. Brave, now I believe Pelry fought in wars or battles a lot, but we never died or got injured or whatever, so either we got lucky or I guess we just got lucky. We also didn't really lose a lot of fights, so I guess there's that too. And yeah, oh, so one of the things with Pelry is, and one of the things that I learned with Pelry is that maybe until we get our succession stuff more secured, either by having ad hoc meritocracy and all that jazz, we might want to be careful about baby making times. Yeah, so I guess something that I could have done to start things off was maybe marry someone who was infertile right off the bat, and then just taking on some either lovers or concubines. Yeah, although with concubines, it's a little iffy, isn't it? Yeah, I think still the legitimization of bastards is kind of the way to go in terms of succession stuff at the moment. Of course, we got insanely lucky with the Duchess of Batang, I think, when we gave her all of our titles before we shuffled off our mortal coil, and then immediately took it back by executing her. But yeah, if I hadn't done that, then our realm would have been split up by a lot. So yeah, I guess it's a good thing that I, you know, had that Duchess in my back pocket there. Yeah. So, what else? What else? So it seems like landing people that you don't want inheriting your stuff is not a bad way of doing it. Of course, it's a little finicky, I think. You have to be very cognizant of what they can inherit and what they can't, etc., etc. So something to keep in mind in the future. But yeah, I guess that's about it. And we also got... Did I get fairly lucky with the genius trait on Pluten? I think so. I don't think any of our other children ended up being geniuses, did they? No. Not at all. Oh, whoa, we had a Kinslayer. Really? Interesting. I mean, not that interesting, but, you know, kind of interesting, I guess. And yeah, it seems like we only had the one genius. We somehow had a beautiful daughter, though. So that was pretty cool, but wait, is she the one that started the long line of beautiful children? Oh yeah, she totally is. Weird. I wonder if that was meant to happen. Well, not really meant to happen like it was scripted or something, but rather if it just kind of like did we just get lucky with the beautiful trait in that regard, or was there something working the back end there, I wonder. In any case, I guess that was Abumiri Pelri, and our first genius child, Abumiri Pluten, was our successor, of course, who, yeah, ambitious. So, back in CK2 times, ambitious used to be one of the best traits out there. Of course, back in CK2 times, traits kind of came and went, so... Sometimes they were more detrimental, but usually it wasn't that big of a deal breaker. Of course, I loathed putting in ambitious vassals as rulers, or as ambitious people as our vassals, but I think we can just safely ignore a lot of traits. But it seems that's not the case in CK3, and this isn't the review part of it at all. But yeah, I think in the future we might want to just be careful of ambitious, especially the whole giving away of territory and whatnot. Now, this increased stress gain I didn't find to be as bad. I think the part that kind of interfered with, or that really proved to be a large detriment in terms of our stress, was the fact that the game didn't really recognize that I was over my domain limit, or just seemed to arbitrarily assign stress. I think that's been fixed. So hopefully, if we do choose to be ambitious in the future, it's not going to be that much of a problem, but still something to be very, very careful about. I do kind of wish that the stress gain was a bit more specific. Like, it's not just overall across the board 25% increase to stress gain, which, you know, if you have a big family, then it ends up being quite terrible because all of your family members die and then you just keep getting stressed out and all that jazz. So, yeah, a little unfortunate there, but I guess the stat numbers aren't quite as important, so I don't think I need to stress about, get it? Stress about getting ambitious in the future, so I think I'll just try to avoid that. On the other hand, though, content turned out to be a fairly good trait, I think. Slight reduction to intrigue, but increase to a learning and increase to stress loss. And the opinion boosts with various characters and all that jazz, too. Pretty good, I must say. I do wish that it was kind of more obvious that that content would lead to stress gain in other situations. Like, for example, when I took the decision to consecrate our bloodline or whatever and become the savior, that added a bit of stress. But thankfully, we had arbitrary, which reduced stress gain by 50%. So yeah, we got lucky there, I guess. Otherwise, it would have definitely led to a mental break. But Congrats has had very little problems with stress, so yeah, I think in the future, maybe we'll just keep getting either arbitrary or content, maybe both. But that might be railroading us into a certain direction that I may not want. Well, you know what, I guess if nothing else, arbitrary kind of fits my playstyle because I just do whatever the hell I want with little regard to anything. Including my own personal safety, so I guess that kind of fits my personality, really. Not to imply that I'm some, oh, I'm so weird and strange and different from everyone else. No, not that at all. My personality, I find, is as pedestrian as they come, so there you have it. Alright, well, in any case, so Pluton was able to reform our faith, I believe. Yes, so he reformed our faith to the modern-day Donyi-Poloism that is now rampant in our country, which is a good thing. I make it sound like it's a bad thing, but it's not. And it seems that we've had absolutely no problem converting all of our territory. Yeah, we've been actually very good about, at least my vassals have been very good about the conversion of their own counties and all that jazz. So I think after a little while, I stopped needing to worry about the conversion of our stuff here, so that was pretty awesome. I'm gonna take a bit of a sidetrack to talk about the religion stuff. So human sacrifice, I'm just gonna talk about the tenets that we have and the doctrines and all that jazz, and talk about what worked, what didn't work. Human sacrifice, pretty useful. The fact that we gain piety instead of losing piety for executing people, pretty good. Because once your piety gets to a certain level, it kind of unlocks more stuff to do, like holy wars and all that jazz. So, fairly useful, I would say. Of course, the fact that executing people just seems to piss off everyone and their dogs is a little difficult. I don't know if that's the right word for it. It makes it so that you can't just execute anyone at will. I mean, not to imply that you could have done that in CK2, but I think back then it was a bit easier to just execute people without having to worry about their family, their dynasty, their realm, and everyone just getting super pissed off at you. So yeah, if it weren't for that, then human sacrifice I think would be much more useful. Of course, it would kind of verge on the point of being overpowered, I think. So yeah, I guess it kind of works the way that it does. My only wish was that it was a little, it would be a little bit easier in the future to find out exactly at a glance. I mean, you can do this and see exactly which characters will be affected by the execution and all that jazz, but I don't know, it's still a little hard to process all of this, right? I mean, sure, it's their entire dynasty, but are any of these guys, like, in my realm? Are these guys are they important to me in some way? Like, have I banged them? Are they my lovers? Am I currently inside of them sexually? Like, that kind of information I feel like is fairly relevant, but, sorry, I'm like getting tracked on my sidetrack here and talking about the aspects of the game that I want changed. I will leave that to the end, or at least I'll try to, but, you know, sometimes bring it up if I feel like the need is justified. But also, what was it? I think whenever you gain piety, that also adds to your level of devotion. So it's not like a level of splendor, which I think is... it trickles in from your own prestige and all that jazz, I think. Yeah, it's like dynastic prestige. And you can accrue it by number of currently living members, number of rulers. Alright, well anyways. Yeah, human sacrifice, fairly useful in getting piety as well as increasing your level of devotion, so I think it's a fairly decent tenet to take. Warmonger, however, turned out to be extremely useful, at least in my opinion. Maybe it's not as useful as I make it out to be, or I'm thinking it is. I guess if you're a tribal ruler, the second point about having a conquest casus belli against your neighboring rulers isn't really that big of a deal. Because I think we would get the conquest casus belli regardless of that tenet. Of course, if we had adopted feudalism, we might lose that thing, so that's something to keep in mind, because I think tribalism comes with that, right? Let me just check. Allows rating, and have stunted development. And have access to more casus belli compared to feudal realms. Yeah, so, yeah, I think that would have been, that's, I guess, another part that adds a fair bit, if you don't have access to that already, like if you're a feudal or maybe clan. I don't know if the clan government has access to any unique casus bellis, but I'm gonna operate under the assumption that they have the same CBs as feudalism. In any case, the other thing that I think really helped out a lot is the whole people not getting pissed off at you for waging wars and all that jazz. Okay, so I want to talk about that a little bit. Because I'm thinking of taking Warmonger as a tenet for every future, well, for almost every future playthrough or campaign or whatever. Just one of the common ones that I take like all the time. And the reason for that is because I get it, you know, I might not want to focus on wars all the time, but the thing is, if I want to make content for YouTube, I can't just have a video where I do nothing and sit around for RNG or for tasks to get completed. I need to be able to declare wars and expand that way too. Otherwise, it's going to be very boring. Granted, though, they made the process a bit more entertaining and whatnot in CK3 compared to CK2, since there's an actual timer for a lot of these activities and whatnot, and it's not really based on RNG, which is great. What was I talking about? See, this is why sometimes I feel like maybe I should write some stuff down, but I know if I do, I'm just gonna rely on that and not know what to say otherwise. And since these go on for a little while, probably a bad idea overall. Anyways, so religion stuff. Yeah, I have forgotten what I was talking about. I think it was about the... Oh, right. Constant expansion and all that such. So yeah, I get that, you know, we can sit around and wait for the vassal opinion or the popular opinion to cool down a little bit after having taken over location. Like if we look in the popular opinion, this is not affected by the fact that that we've been at war recently. Whereas if we look in up here, for example, popular opinion, there's the fervor, but also there should be, if there's a place that hasn't been converted recently, I think maybe here. Mismanaged population. Wait, isn't there malice that you get from popular opinion for waging wars? You should, right? At least I think so. Well, yeah, anyways. I feel like warmongering at least kind of tones down the constant peasant rebellions and all that such for expanding quickly. And as much as I'd like to expand slowly or take a more chill, relax to everything, it's hard to, and also make, at least in my opinion, very entertaining content on YouTube in this kind of regard. So, yeah, I tend to play a very war-focused, that's my playstyle, and that's what I prefer. Not just because I enjoy wars and all that such and territorial expansion, but because, again, I find at least, it's a little bit more difficult to make entertaining content without that kind of expansion option available to us. So, obviously in the future we will have a run where we don't take warmongering as a tenet, but I think for the near future we might want to, simply because it just makes territorial expansion less of a burden. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if anyone else can suggest a tenet or a different way of dealing with that, then I'm all ears. So let me know. I'm not saying this in none of this. I'm not saying any of this in my post-mortem as a statement of fact or whatever. I'm just kind of giving my opinion and my thoughts on this, so I could be dead wrong. I could just be talking out of my ass as I usually do. So if anyone has any thoughts on that, then please let me know. I'm more than willing to hear you out and whatnot. So yeah. We weren't able to wage great holy wars though, so I did read up on this, and it seems like for pagans, the Great Holy War triggering is really, well, it's difficult. So I think if both the Christians and Islamic faiths have access to Great Holy Wars, so crusades and jihads and whatnot, then I think you need to be at the 1100 AD for the Great Holy Wars to become available to you. Otherwise, you have to lose one of the holy sites to someone who is not of your religion. So I don't think that includes installing a vassal of the wrong religion. I think, if anything, you'd have to give it to them and then make them independent. Then I think it'll trigger Great Holy Wars. The issue with that, at least in my case, is that I cannot release a vassal who is a de jure vassal. So anyone who's in the Empire of Le Mans, I cannot grant them independence. I can grant these guys independence. Like, that's not a problem at all. But I can't grant the Duchy of Bomthang independence because they're considered a de jure vassal. So because all of our holy sites are inside of the de jure Empire of Le Mans, I'm unable to forcefully trigger the Holy War. At least, I think. I don't know if that actually works. It's just theory crafting, so it may or may not work. I guess user mileage may vary depending on testing results. But I'm guessing that it can work, so that's something that you might be able to try out in the future. Or I might be able to try it in the future. Okay, so that's warmongering. Ritual cannibalism. I love the idea of it. It is the single worst tenet to take right now. Absolutely the single worst tenet to take. And again, not to go into the review of this game, but I really, really wish that if ritual cannibalism is one of the 3 tenets, as in one of the 3 most fundamental beliefs of our religion, then there should be a way for me to gain cannibalism as a trait easily without having to rely on RNG. So the idea is great. In practice, it is I think, probably one of the single worst tenets you can take, because it's all RNG, as far as I understand. I've found a few cannibal people in our realm, but that's about it. I don't know if I can befriend them and then schmooze them and then ask them to teach me the ways of eating man meat, as it were. Sadly, doesn't seem to be a thing that we can do, so yeah, I would caution against taking ritual cannibalism, as great as the idea is. The equal doctrine. Alright, so this actually turned out to be extremely useful, because with this, I was able to set up ad hoc viceroyalties. It doesn't seem like viceroyalties is a thing in CK3 so far. I don't know if they plan on making it a thing, but if you're unfamiliar with the system, viceroyalties were basically temporary. It's like loaning out a title. So once the viceroy, that's the person who received the viceroyalty, dies, that title will bounce back to the liege. And that's essentially what we set up with our very old maids ruling our various territories and whatnot. And because these ladies are too old to bear children, when they die, all of their territory would bounce back to me, which I found to be extremely useful, and probably one of the reasons why we were able to succeed with this campaign. Or maybe not. I don't know how necessary that was, but you know, I do love viceroyalties. So if I can, I'm thinking that maybe I want to adopt this tactic in the future as well. Some might consider it cheesy, but I mean, you gotta work with what you can, right? We don't have access to any better succession laws than what we start with, essentially, until we adopt feudalism, which is still a long ways away for us. And even so, partition, regardless of whether it's Confederate partition or high partition, I think it's still going to be fairly similar in that you need to be careful of inheritance. Personally, I don't know how it works in CK3, but personally in CK2, I used to love ultimogeniture because I love family eugenics. I think that family eugenics is probably one of the only aspects that I'd like to min-max in. generally, I'm not a big min-maxer. I don't like having to nitpick on the details and get lost in it, because I know I can just go down that rabbit hole, and that's not fun for a lot of people to watch, and whatnot. And besides, I mean, it's hard for me to keep track of anything as it is. You may have seen from the post-mortem and my content so far that I have a hard time keeping track of things or remembering where things are going or what I'm even saying and all that jazz. I mean, I could talk about my ADHD and all that jazz, but, you know, it's neither here nor there. So I've forgotten what I was talking about. Anyways, so I find that ultimate geniture is a good way to do it, because you can have as many children as you want, and once you end up with a genius child or child with the traits or personality, etc., that you want, stop having children. Either you, you know, take the learning thing to become celibate, or just by marrying an old maid and then not having any babies with her and then just having copious amounts of lovers. 26 children! We have more than that, for sure. A lot of the unlegitimate or unrecognized ones, I wonder how many I actually have, though. I know I have a fuck ton. A fuck ton of, courtiers and also, children. I do wish I'd actually kept track of the actual number of children, but any case, yeah, so I think, what's it? The whole, old maids strategy, in terms of both succession and what's it? Managing territories is a good way to do it. I believe I was talking about, equal stuff. Right, so we talked about the ad hoc viceroyalties and how useful they are. I forget why I went on the tangent about making lots of babies, but anyways. So, fundamentalist, I mean, I can't really compare this to anything else, because I guess we started out with pluralist, right? Let me see old Donyi-Poloism. Right, we started out with a pluralist, so I guess this reduces the potential danger of people joining factions and all that jazz. So I guess if you want a more kind of multifaceted and multicultural, multi-religionist realm, then that's certainly a way to do it. I like to just convert everything to the same thing, so just homogenizing everything. That way I don't need to worry about various factions because of various bullshit or whatever, or religious, you know, intolerance, etc., etc. So I find that this is a good way for me to play. Of course, user mileage may vary, but yeah. And lay clergy. I guess lay clergy was good in that I don't have to have that one, court chaplain who rules everything. Yeah. And bastardry legitimization. Okay. So I love that there's the option of having no bastards or legitimized bastards or no legitimization whatsoever. Wait, is that one of the options? I think so, right? Yes, so no legitimization. So bastards can't be legitimized whatsoever. I love that they give you that option. I discovered a bit of a problem with that, though, because my religion says that bastards do exist. As in, you know, if you make a child out of wedlock, it's considered a bastard who needs to be legitimized in order to have access to your titles and all that jazz. Pickle was born a Mahayana Buddhist who does not recognize bastardry. So he is considered to be a legitimate child of my dynasty. I don't agree. I feel like in regards to this kind of scenario where there's a clash of religion and their approach to bastardry and all that jazz, I think it would be cool if he just got the implicit claims, but wasn't necessarily a member of my dynasty. I think that would be a good way to do it, because it's, I mean, it's weird, right? Because according to my religion, he needs to be legitimized, but according to his religion, he is a legitimate child of mine, which doesn't really work. So I think by giving them the claim but not making them part of my dynasty, I think is a good way to do it. I think what might be best is, again, if they were born with the implicit claims. So if someone really wanted to, they could actually push for Pickle's claims and then install him as a you know, faction claimant or whatever, right? Shoot. Oh, and then if you plays the character or whatever, or the AI, after they get the claims, if someone is able to press their claims, I think they should then become a legitimate part of that dynasty. I think that should be a way to do it. Or the person is given the option to start their own cadet branch, or their own bastard branch, or their own completely separate dynasty whatsoever, like entirely. I think that would be really cool if there's a clash of religions that recognize or don't recognize bastards and all that jazz. I think that would be a good way to do it. So that's kind of my opinion on that. But again, we're sidetracking a lot here, so really sorry about that. But there's a lot to talk about, so I hope you understand why I'm letting myself get a little sidetracked here. Now, consanguinity and whatever wasn't a huge thing, I guess. I suppose, realistically, I would like to go for unrestricted marriage because I like to fuck everything and everyone, including my own family members in the game. All right, or not in the not in real life, obviously, as far as you know. But in the game, at least, I like to have unrestricted marriage and all that jazz. So, yeah, at least with this, it makes it easier to do the family eugenics stuff. So, of course, we have to be careful about inbreeding. So there's that. And can I just say that I really appreciate that they added like a different approach to same-sex relations and adultery and all that jazz. I mean, it's not a huge thing, and I just found it really weird in CK2 how I know historically there were some religions and cultures that accepted same-sex relations and didn't bat an eye. I mean, look at fucking ancient Greece. They were fucking each other and, well, themselves constantly. Didn't really care about their sex and all that jazz. They just saw a hole, they fucked it. So, I mean, I knew that same-sex relations or the acceptance of same-sex relations in ancient religions or older religions was definitely available. So I found it odd that in CK2 at least, you know, there was this universal, I guess, malice towards gay people and all that jazz. Or, you know, anyone who's not straight, essentially. So, really cool that they added that. I guess if you wanted to keep a tight rein on your realm and maybe use this as an excuse to imprison them or whatever, then that's probably a decent strategy. I don't know if it actually lowers the rate of your vassals cheating on their spouses, etc., etc. What is weird, though, is that despite having adultery being accepted and all that jazz, I was constantly getting inundated with my vassals or secrets about my vassals fucking other people who are not their spouses. Like, I don't care. Our religion doesn't care. No one cares except for your wife. Why do you keep bothering me about why some people are being unfaithful to their spouses, etc., etc.? But again, that's another review part of the post-mortem, so yeah. Witchcraft, I do wish it was a little bit easier to, but then again, I guess since it's not one of our tenets or anything like that, it's not that, you know, not that out of the scope of understanding that we never got to become a witch, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, it would be nice to, you know, if this is accepted, to somehow pursue becoming a witch or whatever. Clerical function, I think we started out with control, right? I don't know if it actually increased our control growth, but yeah, I think recruitment is much better, in my opinion, because it makes your, your clergy much better fighters and all that jazz, and knights and all that stuff. Clerical gender, I don't think it really matters. Clerical marriage, I guess I could have used this to, have clerical people not marry so that they wouldn't have any babies and all that jazz, and potentially prevent any more, vassals being spawned without my say-so, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe that's something that we could have changed. But yeah. And temporal revocable. I don't know why you'd want to go for temporal for life as opposed to temporal revocable. Because it's the same thing, except one, you can fire your court chaplain or realm priest, but the other one you can't. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know why you would choose temporal for life over temporal revocable, but oh well. So I guess if I wanted to, instead of ritual cannibalism, I feel like carnal exaltation would have been more useful, but I didn't want to pick this one because I wanted to pick this one for a future campaign or whatever, but yeah, I guess we could have done also polyamory, since our play style was basically fucking everyone with a decent trait, or inheritable trait, so I guess we could have done this to prevent any issues with my wife hating me and all that stuff, so that's something to consider in the future, I think. But yeah, so let's see. Pluten was the one who reformed our faith, and that wasn't too difficult, I guess. Yeah, we just need to get the, it seemed like the, perk to, prophet perk was absolutely necessary, though, because otherwise our, faith reformation cost would have been a fuck ton. I guess if your fervor is lower, that would have been a little bit cheaper. I understand why, the fervor being lower, reduces the cost of, reformation, but I do wish that there was a bit more to it than that. Yeah, but oh well, that's fine. Like, I think if they made it so that your first reformation was a little bit cheaper, like if the faith had never been reformed, then I think maybe there should be a bit of a discount because it's a pretty long trek. Then again, I guess it wouldn't be realistic to expect our starting character to be able to reform the faith, right? So, yeah, I don't know. It could be a balancing issue or whatever. So, yeah. What else did Pluten accomplish? He fought 32 wars. 5 more than his father. Right, and he died when he was 74 years old. So, almost the same age as his dad. And he ruled for 37 years as opposed to 39. He was a skilled tactician. So, much better education than his father. With 12 prowess, which wasn't too bad. Although, I don't think this is taking into account his old age, because I think once you hit a certain age, yeah, it's a -4, so that would have been realistically 8 by the time he died. But not too bad otherwise. And with him, oh yeah, so when we had our mental break, I guess we got lucky and we were able to pick athletic as our perk or trait or whatever. I wonder if that was determined by our traits though, like the fact that it was diligent, maybe that's what contributed to the athleticism, and all that jazz. And novice hunter, which I think we got from going on the hunt, right? Yeah, so it's interesting that you gain lifestyle perks that way. It's great that you can actually take on more than one lifestyle trait, which wasn't the case in CK2. You had to like interchange them if you were lucky enough to get that event or be part of the warrior lodge, etc., etc. So I guess the balance of the whole not getting this very easily, or getting this via the events or the decisions, is a way to balance out the fact that you can get multiples of these, because they can get fairly powerful from what I can tell. Yeah, 3 diplomacy and 2 intrigue just from partying all day? Pretty good. I don't know if there's a, I mean, I think there's probably a third one. I don't know what the third one is. I don't think it reduces your stats, does it? Let me quickly look this up. Reveler, so Legendary Reveler. Okay, alright, so it doesn't reduce any of your stats, so it's definitely very powerful. Of course, it also prevents you from being able to, become, what's that word I'm looking for? Celibate, yes, that's it. It prevents you from becoming celibate, which I really wish that they'd actually mentioned here. Because I feel like the more information I have, the better choices I can make. I mean, granted, I don't need to know the exact DNA information of my characters and whatnot, but at least being aware of what I'm being locked out of, or even being given the choice of taking on Reveler, I think would have been really really useful there. But yeah. So what else did Pluton accomplish? Yeah, I guess he ended up with amazing stats, or at least fairly amazing. His intrigue was subpar, but that's due to his honesty. I think the fact that he was both honest and ambitious caused a lot of problems for us in terms of stress, so again, something to watch out for in the future. I think I'll be avoiding honesty in the future for sure. For sure. Diligent, I think, might be the substitute for ambition in the future. It's not that different in terms of the stress gain buff. At the very least, it doesn't make it so that we gain stress from giving away titles and all that jazz, so I guess that's a little bit better. What? Why does this have a unique law? Hold on, I'm just noticing this. Apparently, someone decided to add a stipulation to this title that it should be equal succession rights. Why would you do that? Our entire realm, our entire religion mandates equal succession rights. Why would someone go and add that on top of that? What? That makes no sense. Who did this? What idiot decided to add equal succession law to a title that already has that? What the fuck? Okay. That was weird, but anyways. Yeah. So I guess that's bizarre. That is really bizarre. I wonder what the decision was for that to happen. Like, why would they do that? That I don't understand. But anyways, okay. So let's move on from Pluton to congrats, Les. I'm already at 30 minutes or 40 minutes into this. Fuck me, it's going far too long. So maybe I'll do a very quick tour around the world. Okay, so congrats, Les, our current character. Overall stats much better than Pluton. His martial score not quite as good, but he made up for it with diplomacy and learning. Like, holy crap. Granted though, 5 of it comes from our spouse, so I guess we have that to consider as well. But yeah, overall much better character than Pluton, I think. We learned a lesson from Ambitious and got content, which again I might be picking up in the future for future characters if possible, as well as Arbitrary. I didn't really see a huge downside to Arbitrary. I mean, the -5 to vassal opinion isn't really that big of a deal. I know with clan governments the vassal opinion is important, so I guess the warmongering thing might be a little bit better for clan governments, because then we don't need to worry about the malice that you get from being constantly at war and all that jazz. But yeah. What else? Education didn't quite work out so well. I think there's some more stuff that I'm not aware of the education process that maybe I need to look into. I've read that both your learning and your relevant stat are important, as well as your own education and whether or not you're a genius. I think once you're a genius, that adds to the chance of your child being better educated, etc., etc. But I think it's your learning and your whatever relevant score added up, and then some kind of calculation that determines whether or not or how lucky you get in terms of the education trait being better, all that jazz. So hopefully that's something I can learn better in the future. But yeah. Oh, also the Holy Order. It was kind of weird how upon succession, even if we were in the middle of a war, the Holy Order would just disband because we weren't their patron or whatever. Hopefully that's something that gets fixed. Like, I feel like if we're at least at war, that shouldn't happen, but I don't know. Again, I'm just sidetracking here. I think though, let's see. Oh, right, with congrats, Liz, we were able to consecrate our bloodline and all that jazz, so that's pretty cool. I like that these things are kind of more readily available for us, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, and with congrats, Les, we had a metric fuck ton of children. Wait, how did Pluten do the succession thing? Similar way, right? We just banged a lot of lovers, I think. Yeah, because you were... Oh no, you were a legitimate child. Oh, really? So... I'm pretty sure I ended up banging a lot of women. Yeah, I seem to recall that happening for sure. I guess we just got really lucky with Congrats Les when he was born to my wife, I guess? Yes, Queen Menmo. Okay, so yeah, we got lucky there. Cool. Alright, well in any case, we became a living legend and a religious icon fairly easily, and we've been able to make a fair bit of money too, despite being tribal, so I don't know if I necessarily need to worry about money and all that jazz. I'm assuming that once we play as a feudal realm, it's going to be a little different, but yeah. As a tribe, it seemed that money wasn't too much of a problem because we were able to go raiding and capture prisoners and occasionally get lucky and find prisoners that we can ransom for lots of buckaroonies. So yeah, I like that. I like doing that in CK2, and I like doing that in CK3 as well. So yeah. What else? I guess that's it for Congrats Les. We have how many lovers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. So 13 lovers, and I know for a fact that some of them died. So I think we were close to 20 or so lovers. Suvrata, why are you not in my realm? Miss, come to my court. What the hell? Why did you leave? I don't understand. Is it because I smell like boiled cabbages? Come on, you understand that, right? I mean, you've banged me enough to know. And I guess one of my daughters has been taken prisoner? Or may not be my daughter at all. Oh wait, no. Hold on. So, who is that in relation to Suvrata? Oh, is that her sibling? No, that's not it. Oh, no, it was a friend. Never mind. I was in the wrong tab. That's why. Gotcha. Okay, cool. I guess that's it for our characters, right? Yeah. So, besides consecrating our bloodline, I guess... Oh, right, we were able to found our custom empire and all that jazz. Which I guess didn't really change all that much from CK2, so... Yeah. Awesome that we got to include Himalaya, though. Very cool. As I pat myself on the back there. Anyways. What was I gonna say about Congrats Les? I guess he never really got into too much fighting, right? I guess he did still end up with 13 prowess, which isn't too bad. I wish there was a more reliable way of increasing our prowess, though. Besides trying to get lucky with the base score and also getting lucky with some of the traits and all that jazz. I think it's possible to have a prowess-based education or something. Or maybe not necessarily education, but you might end up with some sort of like... what's it? Education trait that increases your prowess too. I don't know for sure, but I think that might be a later year technology thing. I could be wrong. All right, so what else? I guess that's it. And in terms of our dynasty stuff, we have 48 living members. So how many if we're not counting just 83 characters in total? I see. I do wonder if the majority of these are my bastard children. Oh yes, they are. Right, because I have 26. So, yeah. Over half of the living dynasty members are bastards. That is hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. And you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and legitimize Avalon. Yes. Let's do this. There we go. I don't normally do any content stuff in our post-mortem episode, but I figured, you know, this is our final episode, so let's just do it anyways. Welcome to the family. I have declared my daughter and her heir Avalon to be my legitimate child and a member of House CthuLoops. It has taken me a lot of thought to arrive at this conclusion, and while some might disagree, it was the right thing to do. So she's a legitimized bastard, and so she should be our player heir. Fantastic. Ah, nice. Good to see. Good to see. I do wonder if I had converted Pickle to my religion, if he would be my heir too. I'm assuming that would be the case, considering that we have the title succession requirement that our, you know, heir be of the same faith, etc., etc. So, yeah. I'm assuming that would have been the case. Okay, so what else? I think that's it for Congrats, Les. Yeah, he formed the custom empire, and he also, you know, banged a lot of women. So, yeah, you know what I really do like with the seduction stuff is that I don't need to like constantly seduce them over and over again. I don't know if it's even possible. I mean, I'm kind of scared to try, but I guess it's something that we should try in the future to see if it's possible. I don't know if if it necessarily increased the chance of conceiving. Back in CK2, if you take someone on as a lover, the game occasionally runs a check to see if the person, if your spouse or if your lover becomes, or if you or your lover becomes pregnant. Whereas if you bang them, the game runs a check then and there. So that encouraged me to basically not take on any lovers, but just basically do a pump and dump. Where I just bang them, and then I don't take them on as a lover, and then come back to bang them later on. I don't know if it's a viable strategy in CK3. It didn't seem to be necessary because despite not having done that, I was constantly pumping and dumping and making babies with my lovers. So I'm glad that I don't need to micromanage the lover stuff. So yeah, it's a little bit more, I guess, palatable for people to watch because it's less so the same clicking on the same person and banging them over and over again, which I know some people didn't really enjoy, but some people didn't seem to mind though, so I guess to each their own. Yeah, I guess we can move on from Congrats, Les. Alright, so since we are running fairly late, I'm gonna do a quick sweep of the world, and we'll look at the various religions and cultures and all that jazz. So, religion-wise, in terms of the world religions, Donyi-Poloism is actually ranked 4th biggest religion, which I gotta say is pretty fucking awesome. Above us is the Asharism, so I believe the Sunni faith, and then Tengrism, obviously because of the Mongols and all that jazz, and then Catholicism, which is, you know, a natural thing to have. Hello? Why is this window possessed? Okay, apparently the mention of Catholicism causes my thing here to be possessed and scroll down. So, I don't know how I'm supposed to talk about this game without talking about Catholicism. I guess we're okay now? Alright, well, the ghost of Catholicism past seems to have buggered off, so fantastic. But yeah, so Mongolia upstairs. Whoa! Interesting. What happened to you? Ended with a white piece? How? How did you end up with a white piece? Whoa, I guess if we wanted to, now would be a great time to attack the Mongols, but I'm sure they'd be able to recuperate their losses fairly quickly. But all in all, they do have more troops than I do. As a matter of fact, they have about 8,000 more troops than I do, not counting their allies, so yeah, a little scary there. But compared to how things started, it does seem like the AI's been able to blob a little bit better, which is great. We have the Samanids here, the Khorasan, so these guys don't seem to have changed their territory too much. It is interesting to see that the Abbasids haven't swallowed up the entire Persian Empire and all that jazz. Because usually they expand all the way up here, and then there's a bit of a clashing with the Indian realms, and there's a bit of a territorial back and forth sometimes. So, and they also usually absorb Egypt. So that's another interesting thing that that hasn't really happened, or has happened, or whatever, I guess. Khazaria seems to have gotten a little bit smaller though, because I know they were fairly fairly hard up here, but it seems that Mordvinia has been able to take some of their territory back, or whatever, and they've also converted to a Judaism. Interesting. Very interesting. And Volga Bulgaria is also expanding too. White Rus appears to be... Oh, look at that! They're actually seeming to getting to the point where maybe they can take the Empire of Russia. They just need to compete with the Norse north of them, who are extremely fractured in their realm, this is some real crazy garbage, but there you have it, Mr. Handsome Face. And then there's Sapmi, who are Sumenusko, who appear to be taking the northern part of Scandinavia. And, yeah, it seemed like the Vikings, maybe it's because they were too spread apart, but they don't seem to be blobbing very hard. I guess their blob's kind of more of a, smear that goes across, or maybe more of a splatter than a blob, isn't it? Yeah, because I guess combined they do have a bit of territory. It's just all over the place, which I think they may have addressed with the with one of the patches. Sorry, I thought you were an alien. My goodness. Are they Sweden because they're no longer? No, they're still Norse. I guess Sweden just becomes a thing. Did they start out as Fifth or no? I guess I'll find out later on, but anyways. And it seems like Eastern Europe is, besides White Rus and, well, Croatia is more in the Balkans than Eastern Europe. But Poland is, well, starting to become a thing, but it seems like they're still struggling a fair bit. What? Oh, I see. I do wonder if the Catholics were able to expand up this way, they would have had a bit more of a stable thingamajig going on. Maybe it's because they're all tribal and such. I guess I can kind of see that happening. The tribal realms having a bit harder time keeping all of their shit together. But anyways, yeah, it's a little odd to see. Well, maybe not that odd, because they're close to the Vikings and all that stuff. So maybe it's not that odd to see Germany not being a thing, or Bavaria, or East Francia rather. Yeah. And of course, the British Isles have been completely fucking decimated with the Vikings. So I guess historically, it's kind of accurate-ish, but also not because, oh, what an absolute mess. Well, yeah, I don't know if there's much to say in the British Isles there in this scenario. And it seems like West Francia has been the most successful of the Carling dudes, from what I can tell. Italy is a giant mess. I don't know what the Pope is doing. Because they start out in Rome and probably around here, right? Like, what the fuck happened with these guys? This was owned by, yeah, the Pope, Pope Sergius, who I believe was an actual character, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Because I think the other ones, they just died of old age. Whereas this one died of cancer, so yeah, weird. I wonder what happened here. Like, does the Pope actively go to war with Italy to take their stuff? They're defending versus Byzantium. Oh, the Basilisk is actually attacking the Pope. Really? And you're also defending versus... Oh. The Vikings? What the fuck? Okay. I guess the Vikings are plundering and pillaging over here too. Well, good for you guys, I guess. But, yeah, interesting. Oh my god. Even the fucking, even the Iberian Peninsula is not safe from the Viking onslaught, as it turns out. But yeah. Okay, so looking in West Africa, it seems like some of the realms have been able to consolidate, but not by too much. And I'm assuming that none of them were able to reform their faith, right? As far as I'm aware. Oh, sorry, that's culture. Yeah, okay. That's a shame. I would like to see the AI reform their faith a bit more, but I guess the piety requirement is a bit steeper, so I don't know if the AI would actively seek to accomplish that, but sure. So religion map mode for Europe, in case you're curious. It is interesting to see Orthodoxy take over in Germany and all that jazz, and basically be forced out of the Byzantine Empire to be replaced with the Coptic religion. Yeah, it's like migrating up north, which is usual, which is very unusual, because the Byzantines generally stay some form of, not Orthodox, either Orthodox or iconoclast, but not anything else. But that's actually pretty cool. I like it when weird shit happens in my campaigns and all that stuff. What else? So culture-wise, in Europe, nothing completely out of the ordinary, as far as I can tell. It seems like everything is pretty much the way that it's supposed to be, ish. With the exception of the Norse being in various odd places, but yeah, that's about it. Oh, and the Balkans, Croatia and Serbia are now a thing and are Orthodox or Catholic and Orthodox respectively. Cool. What? You're a realm? Oh, right, duchies. Right, okay, that makes sense. Cool. Well, good for you guys, I guess. And, let's see, Eastern Africa, Coptic and Waki, which is still fairly prevalent. So one thing I've noticed that's different from CK2 is that the pagan religions don't seem to get curb stomped as easily as they used to, which I really appreciate. I love it when there's a lot of religious diversity in these games, because, you know, it encourages a lot of conflict and all that jazz, which, I mean, obviously not great in the real world, but, I mean, religious diversity, you know what, it's fine. Let's not talk about the real world. It gets a little complicated, but, yeah. I mean, religious diversity in the real world, great. But conflict, not so great. But in the game, conflict, great. Religious diversity, also great. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, so it's good to see that the pagan religions are able to not get completely assimilated by the more established religions, like the Abrahamic and organized religions and all that jazz. Yeah. Alright, so the Abbasids, again, a little surprising that they weren't able to expand as much as I thought they would. So it does seem like to be an interesting mix of the AI blobbing pretty hard like Mongolia and then not blobbing very hard like the Abbasids, who stayed mostly sequestered to Arabia and all that jazz. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see. Though it's only been 108 years since the start of the campaign, so I don't know if it's anything to go by, but yeah. And in Persia, etc., Ashari, and all that stuff. I'm assuming... Yeah, I guess Zoroastrianism's been stomped out of existence, right? Man. I have a real... I have a lot of love for Zoroastrianism and the Zunist faith. I think those were two of my favorite religions in CK2, and I love playing as them. I think I actually played as the Zoroastrians like off camera like a couple times, just because I loved it. Not simply because of the Wincest, but because it's the Zoroastrian Revival campaign was the first campaign and the first video, at least officially, the first official video that I had on YouTube. So Zoroastrianism has a very special place in my heart. And eventually, I would absolutely love to, and I think it's absolutely necessary for us to have another Zoroastrian revival campaign, and even a Zunist revival campaign, because that would be awesome. But I think Zunism actually starts out with no counties having it whatsoever, so it's a completely dead religion as far as I'm aware. Because I think the only time that you would actually be able to see a Zunist ruler in CK2 was in the earliest start date, which is 769, which isn't when we started. Because, you know, we start at around the Viking Age and all that stuff, so... Yeah. Culture, in case you're curious. If there's anything that you want me to look at more deeply, like explore or whatever, and something that catches your eye, do let me know. I'll pull up this save file and try to answer your question to the best of my ability. Of course, my head is full of poop and garbage, so I don't know if I'll be able to figure it out, but, yeah. Okay, so, what else? Okay, so since I've done a kind of brief tour around the world, we're running a little later than I would like, so I'm gonna keep my review of this game to be fairly short. I'm gonna start with the positives, and again, please don't take this as a statement of fact. This is my opinion. This is what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy. If this isn't what you enjoy, then that's totally fair. I'm not invalidating anyone's experiences with this game. If you think that this is a masterpiece, That is so awesome, and I'm so honestly, genuinely happy for you that you are able to enjoy every aspect of this game and believe that it's a masterpiece. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Not even what I say, not what anyone says. If you enjoyed it, that's great. Don't go looking for negative opinions to, because you're, you know, in self-doubt or whatever, and you think that, oh, so many people have issues or whatever, but I'm not having an issue. Maybe I should have an issue too. No, if you enjoy it, that's awesome, and please keep enjoying it. That's so fucking fantastic. I don't think that's a masterpiece. I think it still has a lot of work. I think that it's not really ready, because I've noticed that there's a lot of stuff that doesn't mesh well together, that does not work well together whatsoever. I said I would start with a positive, and then I started with a negative. I'm so sorry. Positives, graphics, obviously. The biggest improvement to the game, graphics for sure. I love seeing the genetics in my family. Like, look at my one Duchess here. The one Duchess that I found with random red hair. Like, her children are inheriting this trait. This is awesome. I mean, granted, that was a thing that happened in CK2 as well. But if you look at my family, look at our cheekbones. Look at our high cheekbones and how that was passed on from Pelry. I guess Pelry didn't really start with crazy-ass cheekbones. I think it was his wife, Samdup, who had the fucking crazy-ass cheekbones that could crush diamonds. And then that got passed on to, I think, Pluten in a kind of small way. It's a bit more visible on Pelry, but I love being able to see that trait being inherited in my children, etc., etc. So, very cool, and it seems like they've made improvements to the engine, so the performance, I had no issues with the performance whatsoever. With CK2, when your court gets fairly big, or, you know, as the game progresses, the game tends to chug a little bit, but not in the... I mean, it's only been 108 years, so I guess maybe in about 500 years things might change. But so far I've had no performance issues whatsoever, so that's awesome. Music, great. Very memorable music and all that jazz, especially when you do Holy Wars and that Batman animated series music comes on. Oh my god, it just takes me back to the, you know, Batman doing this with the slight squint, and then Batman doing this with the bigger squint. I love that meme. But anyways, yeah, so that was pretty cool. I love the customizability with your religions, and the fact that something that was added with Holy Fury is immediately available right off the bat. So that's pretty cool. I love the dynastic stuff, like the legacies. I mean, I guess it makes sense that you need to install members of your dynasty as rulers, as independent rulers somewhere else, to be able to get more of the renown points to you know, expand this further. But I love this. I love that you can kind of make your dynasty very different from another dynasty, and you have benefits for you know, having a bigger dynasty, etc., etc. Very cool. I love that. Parts of the UI I really love. The dynasty tree here. Oh my god. Sorry, wasn't expecting to see this long list of faces. Holy crap. But anyways, yeah, it seems to be a bit more easier to navigate and all that stuff, so that's pretty cool too. The UI is prettier to look at. I'll talk about the negatives of that later on. What else? Oh, also, I mean, like the crime doctrines and all that stuff, being able to fine-tune all this, very cool. Very, very cool. And the holy sites giving different bonuses, also very cool. Something I like. Fervor system, I'll see the negatives for later. So you can tell I might have a bit of an issue with that. What else? I haven't written any of this down, hence the verbal diarrhea and being very sidetracked and all that stuff. Oh, I love that RNG isn't as big of a factor as it used to be in CK2. Because even with the fabrication of the claims and stuff, you could get unlucky and basically have this never trigger in 50 million years. Literally. I mean, it's nigh impossible because, you know, 50 million years is a long time, but still possible that you would never be able to fabricate a claim no matter how long you waited because of RNG. So it seems like they mixed it up with EU4, because I know in EU4 it's based on a timer as well. So that's pretty cool. And it's good to see that my diplomat has more, she appears to be holding an invisible scroll. But if she were, you know, not, I guess she's not drunk. I thought she was maybe drunk and she forgot to hold her scroll. She seems to be one of those workers that you, or one of those co-workers, or maybe you're one of those co-workers yourselves, who pretends to work when the boss comes in. But then they were caught with their pants down. It's like, oh shit, oh, the boss is here. I better look busy. Oh no, I forgot my document. Oh, fuck me. But anyways, cool that your workers or your council members have more stuff to do. So I like that. Not sure how I feel about the court chaplain being the one to fabricate the claim, but I guess if you're not converting your faith and all that stuff, they don't really have that much to do-ish. So I guess that kind of gives them another option on all that stuff. So pretty cool. Oh, so the intrigue system. I do love that they added the whole hooks and secrets and all that stuff, and being able to use this to manipulate other characters. Because I feel like that was one of the systems that was kind of lacking in CK2. But I feel like now you can definitely have a, well, maybe not definitely, but have a playthrough that's fairly intrigue heavy, where you expose secrets, find secrets, blackmail them for this and that and all that stuff. So very good to see that the drama aspect of the Crusader Kings series has been boosted up here. So yeah. What else? I think that might be it in terms of positives I can think right off the top of my head. I'm sure I have other ones out there, but that's all I can really think of right now. Oh, the RPG system. I love that they've expanded it. I love that the traits are, you know, these perks are now a thing. I think there's some balancing issues, because it's clear to me that there's some perks that are a million times better than others. I mean, obviously, since I've been mostly relegated to the martial lifestyle, maybe I can't really say that for sure. But at a glance, at least, it seems like the perk system might do with a bit of a balancing. But still, I think the RPG system RPG aspect of CK2 was one of my favorite parts of the game. I love RPGs. I would play an RPG game over a strategy game any day of the year. Fucking any day, honestly. It's my favorite genre of video games. RPG, especially action RPGs. So I love that aspect of it. So very cool there. Culture stuff, I don't know. Okay, well, I've talked about the positives, at least the things that I like. I'll talk about some of the things that I don't like and what I think could be done to change them. I don't like just saying, oh, I don't like this, because that's not helpful. I like it when criticism is provided with an alternative to what it is that someone didn't like. Which is why I don't really pay attention to the dislike button on YouTube, because it's so unhelpful. Unless the person actually adds a comment as to why they disliked it. And if you do leave a dislike, I'm not going to criticize you. That's totally your jurisdiction or your prerogative. You can, if you don't like it, then sure, leave a dislike. Just know that it doesn't actually affect the channel in a negative way. It actually, YouTube counts likes and dislikes as the same thing. So they're both labeled under engagement and all that stuff. I'm sidetracking, I know, but the helpful thing would be to actually add a comment about what you didn't like and what you did like, and what you would see changed, or how you would like to see it changed. So that's what it is, a constructive criticism, which is what I'm going to try to provide to the best of my ability. So, like I said, with the lifestyle stuff, I think maybe a closer look at some of the perks and seeing which ones are more beneficial than others, and maybe balancing some of those out might be helpful. But again, because I haven't really fully explored all the different perks and deeply investigated it myself, it's a little hard for me to say. But at a glance, it definitely seems like there are some perks that are much more beneficial than others. So yeah, something to potentially look at. Alright, so another point of criticism is the whole ritual cannibalism stuff. I mean, not just this, but I'm assuming that with anything else that makes a certain perk or trait extremely celebrated by the religion, it's going to be a little difficult to... it's going to be the same thing, essentially. So if there's a way for me to actively pursue becoming a cannibal, whether it be through the decision or your court chaplain approaching you when you're not a cannibal saying, I see you're not eating man meat on a regular basis. How about we change that? How about this man meat? And then they unzip their pants and then you go to town, you know? Right? And then you eat their genitalia and then bam, cannibalism. I mean, that's how I became a cannibal in real life. So, you know, I feel like that would be a good thing to add in there. So, yeah. What else? So I think with the adopting of feudalism, it's a little unfair that, I don't know. I think the cultural system might need a bit of balancing here. Like the fact that you're able to, you know, have your culture sequestered to one county and then just boost up the development and then basically just speed run through all of technology. I feel like that's kind of a dumb system. I feel like that needs a bit of a balancing. I think, in addition to the average development of the Le Mans counties, I get that its development isn't just, oh, you have better walls or whatever, but it's also like a better school system and education system, etc., etc. So even if you were born with a natural genius like fucking Isaac Newton or Einstein or something, without a proper school to properly harness their, you know, genius, they might not have been able to come up with these inventions or these theories and figure all this stuff out, etc., etc. So I get that aspect of it. I do wish that the bigger your culture was, like there was another little point here that said, oh, average or the number of Le Mans counties, and then that adds another thingamajig. I think that would be awesome to, you know, balance things out a little bit, because, and also, like the fact that some of these cultures don't have all the tribal stuff unlocked but are still feudal. Yet for me, if I want to become feudal, I have to unlock all the tribal stuff. What the fuck? What? At least reduce it so that maybe if someone else of a neighboring culture has adopted feudalism or are feudal, etc., maybe that lowers the requirement, or maybe make it so that I don't have to unlock every single tribal technology to be able to adopt feudalism when everyone else in my entire fucking realm except for me has adopted feudalism would be nice. Like the fact that I'm tribal, some of my vassals are tribal, but the majority of my realm is feudal. I mean, come on. I should be able to look at those castles and go, maybe I can figure out something along those lines. Maybe I don't know how to make the cement that Romans used to use or whatever, but like at least, you know, generally building it in the same-ish shape. Of course, my castles, having been made with feces, might just, I don't know, sink it to a swamp, and then we can build another one that will catch on fire and then sink it to a swamp or whatever. But I feel like maybe there should be an easier way to adopt feudalism, besides having to unlock all of our tribal innovations. But yeah. What else? What else do we have? I'm not sure if there's a limit to my court. At least it seems like the game is not culling the courtiers by randomly just killing them off and saying, oh, this person's spirit just left their body. It's like, what? Why did my genius heir die because the game thought that I had too many people on my court? That makes no sense. So, yeah, I mean, that's not really a point of criticism. I'm just saying that it would be nice to know if there's a limit to my court or not. It doesn't seem like there is, though, so yeah, I guess that kind of answers itself. I do wish that the Holy Order thing wasn't here. I wish that there was a button that just says raise Holy Order, or they'd be just part of the raise all armies if they're part of the if you're their patron. Because I mean, why wouldn't I use the Holy Order? They're free troops essentially. They're free troops that come with crossbowmen apparently, but even though we don't have access to that technology, even though I believe China was using crossbows at around this time anyways. And that's another point. Like, I think the culture system, there needs to be more custom stuff. Like, I know some of the Indian cultures were technologically kind of more advanced in some of the European realms at around this time. Like, there was a lot of prospering and stuff happening in India in the medieval times. So, yeah, that would be awesome if, you know, we weren't just starting off with garbage and not knowing how to take a dump, essentially, with our technology level. So, would be cool to see that kind of more fine-tuned there. What else? What else have I had issues with? Not to sound like I am constantly complaining and full of nothing but piss and vinegar, which I am, but still. Let's see. Oh, the UI. So, as great as a UI looks, it takes too much space. It takes far too much space. I don't need this much space to look at my character, alright? If you could just condense this and then not make these menus like I have to click on them. I have a fucking mouse scroll wheel, alright? Most mice these days come with scroll wheels. I mean, mice in the fucking early 2000s mostly came with scroll wheels, so I don't know why I need to click on this. Like, what? Because I feel like part of the UI, like the fact that I can't even click on my lovers thing to expand it, and the fact that everything is so fucking big, I don't need to know their opinion of these, like, characters that I pinned in there. If I want to know their opinion, I will click on them. The reason why I use the outlier, or the outliner, is to look at things at a glance. I need to know if they're alive. That's it. I don't need to know their status. I don't need to know their relation to me. I don't need to know their fucking, daily habits. I don't need to know what time they take a dump on the fucking outliner, alright? If I want that information, I will click on them. Things like this should not take so much space, because that just defeats the purpose of having an outliner. I need to be able to see things at a glance. I get that I have 20 million people pinned up on my list here, but still, it's not super useful. Like, why not then, if you're gonna do that, why not add more relevant information to my holdings thing here, so I can see that at a glance? Why do I have to have it so that I don't need to hover over my pin characters to see their opinion, but I have to hover over my holdings to see all their status? Why not just make everything more, I guess, uniform? Or better yet, just get rid of all this irrelevant information. I just need to know that they're still alive. And for the most part, I'm just using this to keep track of my various lovers because they won't fit on my list here. So, yeah, if things could maybe take not so much space, if information could be more condensed, that'd be great. And maybe make it so that mods that change the UI don't disable Iron Man. That would also be great, because I kind of needed to use the UI mods back in CK2. I guess they're maybe trying to make it so that you don't need to use them, but come on. Alright, so what else? Oh, so the trait system. I feel like, as it is right now, the biggest issue, or one of the biggest issues that I have with CK3 is the lack of freedom to do whatever I want. I get that RPG is a heavy aspect of it, but maybe sometimes I don't want to RP. What about the people who do want to min-max? I don't really consider myself to be in that category, because I only like to min-max a few things, like for example, the family eugenics, that definitely I like to min-max. But besides that, not much else, really. Maybe my dynasty stuff, but that's, I think, part of the whole family eugenics aspect of it. So, yeah, what if someone doesn't like role-playing as much in CK3? What if they wanted to do whatever they wanted, but they were being railroaded into playing a certain way because of all this stress system and all that jazz? And I don't know how I feel about the traits being almost permanent. I know they can change and you can end up with more than 3 traits or whatever, but it just feels very like I'm stuck with this. Like, for example, when I played as Pluten, I was stuck with being ambitious. I was stuck with the fact that I couldn't give away territory without risking my mental acuity and sanity, etc., etc. Like, the fact that I had to watch out for that for 39 years or however long Pluton was the ruler for. I don't like that. I don't like that. I wish there was a way, so maybe fine-tuning the stress system, or maybe fine-tuning it in a way that it's not this blanket stress gain for everything, or like making it more, I guess, making it more visible, I guess, or making the players more aware of the consequences of their actions. So basically, again, back to the point about providing more information to the players. I think that would be immensely helpful. Because the fact that I, took this on, and it just says stress gain, 25% increase, doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But every time I gave away territory, my stress would skyrocket, and all that stuff was not something that was advertised. And I feel like, sure, I could have looked at the CK3 wiki and looked at all those traits, but I like to do things blind. I like to kind of figure things out of my own volition and by myself and develop my own strategies. So I think having that information like before I took that option would have been more useful. And also, because of the stress system and how it works, if you want to change your heir's traits and all that stuff, I guess it's a matter of luck, isn't it? So I guess in a way, RNG still kind of rules in CK3, which I'm not really a big fan of, because you can get really unlucky and then end up with a list of a really shit traits for your heir that is a Amazonian genius, for example. And you end up with a choice between, I don't know, being lazy and being ambitious, or being I don't know what else traits that there are that are absolutely terrible. Basically being stuck between rock and a hard place in terms of traits. I think that could do with a bit of a fine-tuning. So not necessarily giving your heir the option to take whatever perk or trait that they want, but perhaps making it so that you can change their, or gently push them in a certain direction for traits in case they end up with something that they don't like. Because I don't know about you, but I didn't stop developing my personality. I mean, I'm still kind of changing and like growing as a person. So the fact that it's not meant to be a simulation of life, obviously. So I get that there needs to be some kind of like stopgap to this, but maybe making the traits a bit more malleable, I think perhaps would be a great idea. In case you end up with something that you really, really don't like, or you regret, or whatever. Of course, making it a little bit more difficult to change your traits than CK2. Probably a good idea, because in CK2, again, traits kind of came and went, which I found to be a little problematic at times, but giving us the option to steer ourselves. So maybe it'll be a DLC or something. Steer ourselves in a way that we can change our traits in the future would be awesome, I think. But that was something that came in to CK2, I think, with the Way of Life DLC. So maybe it's a planned DLC in the future. But yeah, I'm not really here to talk about Paradox's business practices. But anyways, what else? So I talked about the UI, talked about some of the issues with the role-playing aspect of the game. Oh, I feel like, in addition to the whole ritual cannibalism stuff, it sucks that some of the tenets are obviously more powerful than others, and some of them are just straight up useless, like ritual cannibalism. I mean, granted though, I guess ritual cannibalism ended up just being for flavor for us. Get it? Flavor? But sadly, we were unable to taste the flavor of man meat, so yeah, it became a bit of a moot point. But yeah, things like, for example, I can tell you without looking that carnal exaltation is somewhat nice, because it increases the fertility for everyone of the faith, which is pretty cool. And I guess astrology does allow you to predict their future. I don't know how that works out exactly, but naval speed? I mean, really? Is naval speed a big thing in CK2 or CK3? And also, because, I mean, we haven't really had experience with the naval aspect in this campaign, I know how it works, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I think that needs to go back to the old CK2 system, where you don't transform your soldiers into boats. I get it. I've also been on a boat that was comprised mostly of human beings just conjoined together to form like an Akira style mass of flesh and semen that carry me across a body of water. I get it. It's obviously realistic. I mean, it's not, but I think that needs to go back to the old CK2 system. Because boats are expensive. Boats are expensive, and it costs a lot of money to raise them and use them and all that stuff. And I think that made a lot more sense in CK2 than it does in CK3 when people just fucking convert into boats and all that stuff. But I don't know. I guess in a way, it kind of like makes it so that you don't need to have a coastal settlement to have boats yourself. So, no, that shouldn't be a thing. I think if you want to have boats, you should have a coastal settlement, or make it so that you can hire mercenary boats. How about that? How about that instead of having your troops just convert into boats? That makes more sense. At least I think. I don't know. What else? I haven't had any issues with the faction system as far as I can tell. Decisions, I guess I'm okay with. Intrigue. Oh. So the fact that we were able to have adultery accepted in our religion, but I was constantly being inundated by my vassals cheating on each other, etc., etc. There should be a check for that. There should be a check to see if, does this religion tolerate adultery? YN. If Y, then don't bother the liege about the, don't live tweet the liege or me, the player, about the status of my vassal's genitals. I don't need to know. I don't need to get a fucking tweet or a live update every time someone's dick enters someone else's dick or their butthole or their vagina. I fucking don't care. It's not even a secret that I can use. So why bother me with that stuff? That is so dumb to me, but maybe that's just a bug. Maybe that's something that I can't actually offer any criticism on. Hopefully that's something that they'll address, but sure. Yeah, I guess overall it's just mostly the lack of freedom, because I feel like it's a little hard to pinpoint any specific instance besides the trait system where I feel like I'm being railroaded into playing a certain way. I guess with the different tenets and such, you can change kind of your playstyle with the religions and all that stuff, but yeah, the fact that I got penalized for having my culture kind of spread and not worry about the development and all that stuff, I don't know. I have a lot of issues with that for sure. I do feel like I had more stuff to say, but I kind of lost track, especially because I'm glancing over and I'm realizing that I've been recording for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'd be surprised if anyone actually stayed for as long as you have, so yeah, I do apologize that this ended up going a lot longer. It's my first post-mortem at CK3, so hopefully in the future I can kind of condense this a bit more. But if you are interested, and I guess maybe you kind of stuck around to listen to what I have to say. Oh, the map mode too. This makes no sense. I get that they wanted to make things seamless and all that stuff, but how about just giving... Oh, okay, so this is actually another point of the lack of freedom. I like to kind of be more zoomed in. I like to play things at a certain zoom level, usually. I like to zoom out when I like to get an overview of certain things. So sure. But why not just give the players the freedom to change the map mode? Why force us to have to scroll out to get access to, you know, this view as opposed to this view? Like, why not just give me an extra hotkey to use? And speaking of hotkeys, some of them don't work. Like when I have fucking dudes raised. Okay, I'm gonna raise some dudes right now. At least I'll try to, if I can remember how to raise dudes. Angry, sweaty dudes, raise yourselves. Okay, so if I have this on and then I... Look. Split off new army. Hotkey. Boom. Hello, government map mode. Not what I asked for. What? When was the last time you played a game in the modern age where you couldn't change the keyboard controls? I guess CK2. But at the very least, that was moddable. And I got the keyboard shortcut mod. I even made some custom mods for myself to change my keyboard shortcuts to customize it in a way that I wanted to. I love that. I love that. I wish it was just a base feature and something that didn't need to be modded, but they're not working. Which is why I strongly believe that CK3 was not really ready for release. I feel like there's still a lot of stuff that's just been copied and pasted over from CK2, but doesn't actually work that well with the current system that it has. Besides the hotkey stuff, I'm drawing a little blank here, but please understand that, again, my attention span is negative however many seconds, so I forget stuff before I even fucking come up with the idea or the thought about thinking about it, so yeah. So if they could maybe fine-tune the hotkey system or just give us the option to customize our keyboard shortcuts. Please. Please just give us the ability to do that. And give us more map modes. The diplomatic map mode was so incredibly useful because it showed me at a glance which people I could attack, on whom I had a Casus Belli on, and that way I didn't need to like fucking click on them and then like do this and then figure out which kind of Casus Bellis I could use. Why take that away from us? And also, the opinion map mode is incredibly useful. I mean, I guess it's not as useful for a feudal realm, but for clan realms where opinion is basically determines whether how many troops you get from your vassals and whatnot, immensely useful. So please give that back to us. I don't know why that's not available. It just makes no sense. So what I felt overall with CK3 and I think one of the issues is I feel like maybe Paradox decided to cater too much to new players. It's great that they are looking to make it more accessible and less daunting for new players. If you're new to the Crusader Kings universe, welcome. It's always great to have new players. It's fantastic to see new players, etc., etc. So if the whole seamless transition between the map modes or whatever really jived well for you, that's great. That's not the system that I'm used to. And I get that I have to grow and evolve, etc., etc. Give us the freedom. Why take that choice away from us? That makes no sense whatsoever. Why? Why not just make it another like map mode? I don't get it. It just makes no sense. You're taking away all these things that were so incredibly useful, and it wasn't like game breaking to have the opinion map mode. It wasn't game breaking to have the diplomatic map mode to see with whom we're allied at a glance and etc., etc. Just don't take that choice away from us. I don't understand this taking away of our freedom. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that in some kind of like weird like political ways, like, oh, you're infringing on my rights or whatever. Not that kind of nonsense, but I'm talking about why take those features away? They weren't bad, they were immensely useful. Just keep them in there and make it an option. Why not just fucking add a little option in here in my settings thing so that you can, scroll in to see map mode or whatever. And if you don't want to use that, have another checkbox so that you can just use your hotkeys instead. Why force us to use this system that I honestly believe does not work that well? I get that it's seamless, but hey, you know what else is not seamless? Forcing myself to having to fucking zoom in and out of a certain thing to access whatever I want. Why? Just give me another hotkey or whatever so I can click on that and then do it that way. It just makes no sense. But yeah, I don't know if I really need to go any more deeper than that. I think there are still some issues, some personal psychological issues, but also some issues that I have with the game. I'm drawing a little blank here, and I don't want to inundate you guys with negativity. That's not it at all. I love the Crusader Kings series. At least CK2. I've never played CK1. I have it, so I could play it. But anyways, I have a lot of love for for Crusader Kings 2, and I'm hoping that I did enjoy this campaign, I will say. There are a lot of aspects of CK3 that I greatly enjoyed. I just want this game to give me the same kind of... maybe not the same, but as much fun... Again, that's kind of the same, isn't it? I want other people to be able to enjoy this as much as I enjoy CK2. Let's put it that way, alright? And I think right now some of the issues are kind of preventing me. Like the fact that... also, sorry, another point that I wanted to add. I've talked about this before. I have a lot of issue with the window disappearing when I click on this. I get it, I can use the character finder, but if I do this, I feel like I should be... You see, okay, here. This window here, look at where it ends. This window here, it lines up perfectly. So why does this window disappear? That makes no sense. And why do the filters, why they're different? Add the same filters to these things. Make it so that they all have the same filters. Because I get it if, you know, claims aren't as important in the character finder, but what if I like to use the character finder to look for vassals or whatever? Why take that away from me? Why not just make this another option? And why in this day and age do we not have a proper Boolean search? I mean, what the fuck? If I wanted to find a genius who is not ambitious, for example, I can't. Because Boolean searches are apparently not a thing in Paradox. Maybe when they use Google search or whatever, they don't use Boolean searches. Maybe they're just not aware that it exists. But it's a thing. It's a thing, and it exists, and it exists in some video games as well. So if that could be made available, that'd be great. And if they could maybe just put the filters, have the same filters here, because I'd love to be able to see the inheritable traits. Because I like using the character finder to find not just vassals, but also potential mates or wives or whatever, or spouses, etc., concubines, that kind of stuff. And it'd be great to have all of those in one location at a time. But yeah, sorry, I'm getting a little sidetracked and I'm not saying this to complain. I'm saying this in the hopes that someone out there is listening, and that these issues that are kind of plaguing my experience, and I'm sure I'm not alone in these complaints. I'm sure there are some people out there who feel the same way that I do, that these get addressed. I'm not saying that it should take away from, that they should make change that takes away from someone else's experience. I'm just saying add more options. Like, it's not gonna hurt to add another setting to make it so that I don't need to do the seamless transition of map zooming in and out garbage. I just add another map mode. Maybe with some of the changes, like the traits and stuff, that might affect someone else's enjoyment. Or just giving us the option to change our hotkeys. That's not going to take away from anyone else's experience. That's not going to interfere with someone else's enjoyment of the game. So, come on. Like, get on with it. And the fact that I am still seeing nudity, like I'm seeing boobies here and there in some of these characters who have out the Indian shawls and stuff. Yeah, that's an issue that needs to be addressed for sure. So, you know, if you could maybe check for those bugs before you release your releases, that'd be great too. Because I think another thing that kind of supports my idea that maybe CK3 was not really ready for prime time is the fact that the first patch that we got was fucking massive, and it fixed a lot of very broken stuff like the achievements. Were those play tested? Because it doesn't seem like they were. It honestly doesn't feel like the game was play tested by the developers. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure there were some playtesters, and obviously it's such a big game that you can't expect everyone to playtest everything. Sure, that's cool. I mean, Paradox isn't a small company. They have the resources. You know, why not have some beta testers or more playtesters to figure this kind of stuff out? Because this is a game where the code behind various things matters so much. I guess that's kind of the same for like a lot of games, but especially with this, where some of the laws are so nuanced and so specific that even a single line of code being all janky and stuff can really fuck things over. Yeah, stomping out those kinds of bugs, I think would have saved a lot of frustration for a lot of people. Like, I know there's some people who tried to do very specific achievement runs that they couldn't do because the game didn't recognize that, you know, or the game didn't thought that you had to have the same character for the entire campaign or whatever, kind of locked them out of it. So that's a lot of money, or sorry, not money, but hours down the drain if that's the case. And my heart goes out to you. I would hate it, absolutely hate it, if I did an achievement run on the channel and I ended up not being able to get it because of reasons that aren't even my own. That would suck. And if you wasted time on that, I really feel sorry for you. Like, I don't mean to pity you, but my heart goes out to you because I know what that feels like. Thankfully, I haven't experienced it much in CK2 or CK3 yet, but, you know, I have experienced it in non-recorded stuff that I've played in the past too, so, yeah. Anyways, I think I'm driveling on at this point, so this is an almost 2-hour-long post-mortem. This is highly unusual, because they usually range from about 15 to 30 to maybe 45 minutes. I've never had one go this long, so if you've stayed with me for this long, thank you so much. If you decided to, you know, jump out of it before it got too long, I totally understand, and I don't think poorly of you at all. But yeah, I think I should probably leave it off here. I'm sure I could just keep going down this rabbit hole about criticism. Again, it's not because I'm complaining or because I'm a whiny bastard. I mean, I am, but that's not the point. The point is I hope for this game to really, really become the masterpiece that I think it's capable of being. I think it's on the right path. I think they've got the right ideas. But hopefully that's something that can be done. Before I go though, I will say that it seems to be a little strange that they regressed in terms of quality of life updates. Like, I get the whole, you know, taking away certain aspects that were in CK2 so that they can release them as DLCs for CK3. Like the fact that we can't play as Republics or some of the other stuff that were added with CK2, like the interaction with China, etc., etc. But yeah, why roll back on the quality of life stuff? Are you gonna release that as a DLC, a paid DLC as well? Because I know with the mass execution stuff, that was part of a paid DLC, if I think so, at least. I could be wrong, but I think that's one of the actions that are available only if you get a certain DLC. I could be wrong. I might be wrong about that, actually, now that I think about it. But why take that out? Like, why not have the different saved things for the filters as well as for the game rules, right? I don't know, but anyways, let that be the last point of criticism. I'm hoping that they bring these back fairly soon and not as part of a paid DLC or whatever, because that would be really fucking skeevy. I'm just saying, if you add a quality of life stuff as a paid DLC, that is just, I can't abide by that at all, but anyways, yeah. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it for our post-mortem. I'm so sorry that it went on for like 2 hours. Again, this is highly unusual, but I guess I had a lot to say about our campaign here. And if you stuck around for this long, I'm so grateful. If you didn't and you just you know, came to the very end to find out what I'm yammering on about, still, thank you for even tuning in for at least a little bit and hearing what I have to say about the stuff and our little trip down memory lane. Yeah, and that's gonna be it for our post-mortem. Again, as this is kind of the final episode of our series, I guess, technically speaking, I'd just like to thank you guys for leaving a like on the videos. I'd like to thank you guys for following along with it, and for leaving a comment. Let me know what you guys thoughts are in regards to my points of criticism or the things that I enjoy. Let me know what you guys enjoy about CK3, what you liked about the campaign. Just, you know, comments and whatnot. Just, you know, don't be rude is all I ask. That's the only stipulation that I have. If you have criticism for me, that's great. I love getting criticism. Sorry, not to like invite that, but I love getting constructive criticism. like things that I could have done better, and things I can try out in the future, and all that stuff. And speaking of in the future, so I have a couple of ideas for campaigns so far. Let's see. So one of the ones is the one as playing as Dora Darama and getting the Mother of Us All achievement. The other one is I've only got 2 ideas so far. The other one is actually rehashing, or I guess maybe replay of one of our previous CK2 campaigns. Not the exact same location, because that's not possible, because, you know, different timeline and all that such. But I thought that maybe that could be a fun thing to do. Third one, I don't know. I haven't really come up with a third or fourth campaign idea yet. I'm still hashing that out, but yeah, eventually we'll get there. Oh, yeah, so thank you for the comments and the feedback, etc., etc. And thank you for subscribing and following along with the series. Again, if you want to support the channel financially, which is totally not necessary, by the way, it's only if you want to, if you enjoy my work and if you want to support it, because I would love to make this a living of mine. You can become a Patreon on Patreon, or you can join the channel as a member via YouTube, or you can subscribe to me on Twitch, and you get different perks like being able to vote for future campaigns, getting in the credits list, as well as getting a hopefully culturally properly named character as a ruler, or whatever, I guess. Maybe for the lower tiers, I can just have you guys as children that won't be heirs. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's something we can add into the future there. But yeah, don't feel pressure to do that. You know, it's more than enough for you to just watch and enjoy my content. So yeah. With that, let's end the post-mortem before it hits the 2-hour mark. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. But yeah, give me some time to think about future campaigns, because I still need to think of a third or fourth one, possibly. So it might be another week or so. I apologize, I try not to leave any gaps in between my Crusader Kings series, but due to the nature of the fact that there isn't as much content right now, because let's face it, all the pagan religions will probably play in a similar way, unless you have radically different tenets, and even so, you know, it's still just different coding and a fresh layer of paint and whatever, right? So I don't know if it's gonna be necessarily very different. So I'm gonna try to find fairly varied campaigns, but we'll see. I think for the day until the DLC start coming out, we might have kind of more, not really monotonous, but similar-ish campaigns. So who knows where things will go, right? But yeah, let's leave it off here for now. So apologies again for the very long post-mortem. Thank you for tuning in, even if it was briefly. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next campaign, whenever that starts. So thank you so much for watching, and have an amazing breakfast.